I'm Matt Hatton from technology industry analyst firm Transformer Insights. We are here at the Things conference in Amsterdam talking about IoT and LoRaWAN. And I'm joined by Ulrik of Tektelic. Christian, welcome. Tell me a little bit about your organization and what you do in this wonderful world of LoRaWAN.
So Tektelic is a company headquartered in Canada with a global presence. We are developing end-to-end solutions, so providing a full line of offerings in the LoRaWAN space. We are a gateway manufacturer, we are a device manufacturer, and we also develop network server components, we develop application components, we develop tools for easy onboarding and integration with existing platforms and applications.
Okay, when you say end-to-end solutions, do you mean you're actually going out with a asset tracking solution to end customers and selling direct to them for that kind of solution, or is it there's some kind of intermediary? How does that bit of the business work?
Good question. So in principle, we could. Because we do have all the components for it, but we also realize what we're really good at is the RF technologies, the integration with the LoRaWAN ecosystem and infrastructure. And typically there are companies that are specialized in asset tracking, in logistics applications, in workflows, who do a much better job than us in understanding the peculiarities of that vertical. So typically we collaborate with these and let them go to the customers and offer the actual solution where we can bridge with the components that enable that solution and make it happen.
Okay, so you're doing network, device, all of that aspect of it, and someone else will probably layer on top the actual direct interaction with the customer and the solution. Interesting question for you as an organization that does all of these various different elements. One of the things that we find that's quite a trend in IoT is for this requirement for cross-optimization, i.e. you can't just put any device on any network and kind of hope that it's going to do what it does and use any protocol you like and set up the application in any way that you like, because it just doesn't work like that in IoT. You need some more optimization. Is that something that you're finding more and more customers are actually looking for, a full set of capabilities from network to hardware to say cloud integration and all these various different elements? Absolutely.
And I think the viewing angle is rather to solve a real life problem, which has been one of our corporate philosophies for many years. You can come with lots of interesting technology, you have lots of battle between different network topologies, technologies, chipsets, what have you, but at the end of the day, what creates the value is being able to go out and solve a real life problem. And then you use the components, the tools that are at hand for this. And sometimes, yes, it involves that once the infrastructure for a solution is established, you can go and you can cross-fertilize it with additional capabilities, other sensors that are put on the network, other solutions that use the same infrastructure. But typically we start from an actual problem that looks for a solution, and we come and we provide that solution together with our partners.
Okay, good. What have you seen that's been interesting at the show here? You've been here for the first day and a half of the show, I guess. What have you seen that's interesting, or just general feel for how you think the show's going, other than the fact that it's just great to be back in front of people, right?
No, it's definitely great to be out and about and meeting with real people again in real life. So that's very appreciated. And we're one of the companies benefiting from having lots of partners and a very good ecosystem in the LoRaWAN world. So coming back and meeting with these people again is obviously a good thing. What we are seeing here for specific talking about product and technologies is we are seeing many new attempts in autonomous devices, satellite connectivity and so on, which is definitely from a development perspective something that's going to be interesting to look at.
Yeah, the satellite one for me is particularly interesting at the moment. We see quite a lot of talk about deployments of LEO satellites and so on, and some quite interesting and innovative use of LoRaWAN to support that. See that as being a big bit of the market? Is that an area where Tektelic is playing?
We're not playing there actually at this point in time, but we see it as a roadmap item definitely. What's important to us again is avoiding to having too many bespoke, non-compatible solutions. And one of the things that's been characterizing taking and topology and a technology from a terrestrial networking into outer space has been, you need to do modifications, you need to customize, you need to do special things. And from our point of view, what would be the ideal solution is that a sensor that connects to a network effectively shouldn't care whether it's transmitted back over a landline, over cellular, over satellite, over something completely different. That the network's job to take care of that and make sure that the data arrives in the right place, not the actual data needing to take care of going in the right place. So it's some of the things we're definitely looking into and seeing as an interesting evolution over the next few years.
Yeah, it's certainly a fascinating one. I mentioned that we haven't been here for 2.5 years or so. What do you think's changed in this LoRaWAN ecosystem? Because you guys have been in this LoRaWAN ecosystem for quite a long time. What do you see as having changed maybe in the last couple of years since we were all last here in Amsterdam?
I think the focus is switching. So the technology is maturing and the focus is switching from developing new devices, building new gizmos, running around doing things that are optimizing a little bit here and there, into actually looking at what commercial problems can we solve using the technology? How can we take this integrated into existing machine-to-machine application, into existing industrial IoT applications? And that for us is a good movement, because at the end of the day, a technology is not there for technology's sake. The technology should be there to solve real-life problems.
Absolutely. So it's a maturing, I guess, is the way we can think of it. And what was interesting for me was during lockdown, during COVID, IoT didn't stand still, right? And it feels like there's been maybe more developments and more interesting stuff happening in our space than probably for the 2 or 3 years before that.
Absolutely. And you can never really predict what happens when, you suddenly are in a situation that nobody has experienced before. But I actually side with you. That's what we experienced as well. Our intake of new customers who wanted to join, who wanted to work with us, who wanted to create solutions with us, and who were working very hard and very efficient during the lockdown in actually bringing about value to the customers that had to be derived in a different way is immense. And another very direct consequence of, let's say, the pandemic and the return to office situation is one of the fastest growing use cases for LoRaWAN is flex desking, where you use flexible booking mechanisms to determine, are you working from home, are you working in the office, are you coming in, are you working with your team, your work group, and enabling software to do this, combining that with sensors that measure whether workspaces are actually being occupied, where is space available if I want to set down an impromptu meetings and things like this. So not only the pandemic that drove a lot of development efficiency, now we see a lot of deployment efficiency because of new applications that were conceived or optimized during the pandemic.
Completely. So IoT was very good at overcoming some of those headwinds that we saw during the pandemic. There's a few other headwinds at the moment, global economic challenges and things to do with chip shortages. Is that still causing a problem? Energy related things? You see some challenges ahead for IoT and particularly the LoRaWAN ecosystem?
With the chip shortage, I think from our side, at least, we're seeing us coming out of the dark, and certainly the situation is going to improve. We have done a lot of work optimizing our supply chain to minimize the impact on our customer, and I think the feedback from the market is we've done a really good job at that. But yes, it's IoT lives in a world of disruption, and every time there's a new circumstance, a new economic situation, geopolitical situations that are changing. Disruption comes from one side, tries to move a stable market. Now the market is not stable, so it creates even more challenge to manage a disruptive process. But it's good. We live and thrive in that environment.
We cope, right? And the other big challenge, and the nice challenge to have, scalability, scaling, going to these tens of millions, hundreds of millions of devices. How do you see that as a challenge in IoT?
I think in IoT, here it really depends on the technology, because many technologies in IoT and LPWAN technologies in specific have been very oriented towards creating low barriers for development. Others have been more closed ecosystems that have from the beginning on been more prepared for scalability. And one of the things we've been driving a lot as Tektelic in this ecosystem, in the LoRa Alliance, is tools for scalability, mass deployments, avoiding manual processes, time-consuming biased processes, creating space for error, and so on. So we are showing now solutions where literally you onboard devices in a 5-minute process using a QR code. We invited our partners to a summit just the day before the conference, where we sat, a lot of people in a large meeting room. Everybody had a sensor, a device, a gateway, and were given 5 minutes to onboard it without having any pre-knowledge about how it was actually set up, and it worked. So these are the kind of things we need to focus on adopting now, so we can start rolling out massive, scalable solutions.
Fantastic. Christian, thank you very much. Very upbeat note that in terms of scalability, and we are seeing the scaling of IoT now. It's fantastic to watch. We'll be taking a break for about 20 minutes, and we'll be back at 12:45 talking to Dan Priest from Connexin.